Welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. It's the Healthy Habits and Lifestyle Coach Giovanni, and I help those with endometriosis and polycystic ovarian syndrome reduce chronic pain, eliminate distress, and minimize irregular or heavy periods through my M to the third degree healing empowerment formula. Y'all, today we got another Journey of Strength episode. Today with Nadia sharing her journey with endometriosis. But before we get into this episode, and if you're new to the podcast, welcome. But it's time to vibe with me, y'all. Welcome to the Empowered Plates, Empowered Lives podcast. Y'all, welcome back to another episode of the Empowered Plates and Empowered Lives podcast. Y'all, today we have Nadia Morales, a 45-year-old runner and advocate who has faced the challenges of endometriosis, fibroids, and ovarian cysts head on. Y'all, Nadia's journey is a powerful testament to the strength it takes to manage chronic pain, break cultural taboos, and take control of her health. Y'all join us as Nadia shares her experiences with the life disruptions caused by endometriosis, her decision to undergo a full hysterectomy, and how running and a plant-based diet have played a crucial role in her healing journey. Y'all, I am so excited. So welcome to the Good Vibes Studio, Nadia!
Thank you so much, Giovanni. Thank you for having me here. An honor.
You
pleasure.
Are absolutely welcome. Thank you for coming through to share your journey of strength today, Nadia. So let's kind of talk about it a little bit. So I know your story is one of resilience, determination, from completing your doctorate to becoming a dedicated runner, like all while battling endometriosis and fibroids. So can you share with us how your journey with these conditions began, and then what led to your decision to undergo a full hysterectomy?
Yes. All right. Well, I started my period when I was 12 years old. And even from that early on, I was very young. Even though I did go to the, those classes where they put out the boys and the girls separate and they talk about periods and all that, it still didn't click. You know, I was a kid. I'm 45, like you said. So I still a 12-year-old and I was still playing with dolls, right? I loved the Ninja Turtles. I was very girlish, right? You know, boys were not of any interest back in the day. So, of course, when I got that period, I was angry. My mother, she explained to me that, you know, you're going to have to use these items every month. And I was not having it. I was so angry, but then what can you do, right? So that's how it started. And then eventually, I guess it takes a while to get adjusted. But then I was noticing that it was a lot of blood. And I was like, how many of these pads do I have to go through on a day? And, you know, she kind of noticed that it was more heavy than, I guess, what she experienced maybe in her time or during her life. But I was soaking the bed. I was, my clothes were all bloody, and I mean that happened quite often. But again, there was no education, there was no, let's take you to a doctor to see what's going on. It was just, look, it's just your period. Unfortunately, sometimes some women get it heavier than others, and that's what it is. And that's how I grew up, and that's how I just dealt with it. Then, of course, I went to middle school. It's just same thing. High school. But it was in high school when I first experienced excruciating pain. And I also was trying to apply for scholarships and college applications and all that. So on top of that, I had that stress. I was playing soccer. We were made it to the final of our little division. It was not the big leagues of high school. It was the second, I guess, not the big leagues, but we were there. We made it. So that was another stress. And of course, when you're a kid, it's like, oh my God, this is just too much, Now it's like, oh, that was nothing. That was nothing compared to what we have to do now as adults. But anyway, that was my first fainting episode. And the clinic that I went to, they thought that I was pregnant. I was not, of course, but nothing came out of it. Doc, oh, here you go. Just get some, just relax, some relaxants, get some pain medication, for pain, and relax. That's basically what they told me. You need to relax and
So
you need
Nadia,
to eat
you
more.
went to the clinic because you fainted.
Yes.
And you fainted after the soccer game?
No, it was just a regular day. I woke up and was getting ready to go to school, and I went to the restroom. I looked myself in the mirror, and then I started getting very blurry, and I walked back to my room, and then I don't know what happened to me afterwards.
Was your
I
menstrual
remember.
cycle on during that time?
What's that? I'm sorry.
Was your menstrual cycle on during that time?
Yes. Or about to get it, and
Okay.
so I guess it was just maybe the fibroids were going on, the cysts. But who knows? I didn't get those exams done. And so, like I said, went to the clinic, got sent back, nothing happened. So just tolerating the pain. And then off I go to college, maybe in my mid-20s, that's when the second fainting episode happened. So I'm kind of skipping years, but I mean, throughout this time, it's just painful periods all the time, every month. And there was
painful
no
and heavy.
Painful and heavy, yes. So eventually I discovered tampons, right? Because the whole idea of pads, changing them so often, I just didn't like it. I didn't feel clean, or I don't know. It was just a weird feeling that I didn't like them. So I discovered tampons, and I was going through at least 4 or 5 tampons during the day sometimes, on my first couple of days. And then eventually it will kind of, level off. But that was life. I was just dealing with it. And then I was prescribed birth control pills for that, because I was like, oh, maybe. But nobody had ever told me the word endometriosis. I had no idea. I had no idea what endo was, what fibroids were, cysts. Like, what's a cyst? I had no idea. Very naive, very ignorant to like all these conditions, right? Even though I was already in college, but I was not majoring in healthcare. So of course I wasn't even looking. The internet was there. I think I went to college in '97, and so that was my first experience clicking on a button to get access to the World Wide Web. So I was not looking for healthcare information. I was looking for my favorite soccer team information, but that's another story. But that's how it happened. I mean, and so my mid-20s, I was already in grad school, and that's when I had my second fainting episode. And okay, I'm older now. I'm starting to ask more questions, like, what's going on? Why am I having all these? Why am I feeling like this? And so, my mother had already passed away. She passed when I was 20, and so I didn't have her or my father to help me advocate for my health, right? So I kind of had to do it on my own in some sense. Even though now, if I could go back, I think the doctors would have not been happy with me, because I would have been very stern. Respectful, but stern, like, hey, no, I need this. Please help me. I need your help. Versus, well, just take this pain, take her hormones, birth control again, and, off you go. I would have said, no, it hasn't worked. I've tried this before. It doesn't work. So finally, they did an ultrasound, and lo and behold, there's this huge cyst on one of my ovaries. And so I didn't have health insurance because I was still a student. And so it was a whole another story, but I got the surgery done, and that's the first time I heard the word endometriosis. Did I look it up? No. Did they explain it to me? I cannot recall if they did, but I think I would have remembered if they said, oh, this is like a very, and it is a serious condition. It's this process that's happening, that's supposed to happen when you have your periods, but it's happening in other places in your body, not just, in your reproductive organs. I would have remembered. I think I would have recalled all that. So, like I said, more years passed by, same deal, same pain. Finally, in 2021, I went to my gynecologist. I was already working. I had insurance. So I asked my doctor, my gynecologist, I said, you know what? I've been having all these issues. Can you just take everything out, please? I think I'm not going to, I don't plan on having children. They're not in, part of my plan. Plus, then I also thought maybe it was like a kind of preventing deception, or not deception, but felt like I'm going to have a hard time having children. So in a way, I was kind of covering myself by saying I don't want children, because like telling me I was going to have a hard time conceiving children because of all that. And so maybe that was a way of my mind kind of protecting myself for it. But he said no. He told me no, because I could potentially eventually have children, even though I wasn't dating anybody. I was not married or anything. And so I just tolerated again for another, 10 years, until finally he said, all right, let's do another exam. And he found out fibroids this time around. So cysts plus fibroids. And he said, all right, let's get you into the OR. I'm not operating you. Let me refer you out. The surgeon who did the surgery, he said I had stage 4 endo. He removed about 4 or 5 fibroids. I had the chocolate cyst, and then another benign tumor on one of my other ovaries. And so on my right ovary, the cyst was on the left. And that's why I finally said, oh, so I knew what it was now, right? I had done my research and I said, oh, stage 4. And you know that word validation? It's like all these years since I was 12, 13 years old, all the way to what? How old was I? 20, I'm 28, 45, 42. When I finally got that validation. So that's a long time. It's a long time to be.
A very long time. And you have to navigate it so much by yourself, you know? And I know you told me, you said you had to figure it out without your mom and your dad. And you mentioned to me before you felt guilty, you know, coming to tell your mom about the pain you were going through with her, you know, doing chemotherapy at the time. You're like, I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to feel like this problem I have is more important than my mom fighting for her life. Right. And I think you talked about like your dad is supportive now. And he was like, I wonder how that would have been if I did just open up to my dad and tell him what was going on, how he could have, you know, been a part of that. And so one, I hate that you had to go through that alone, Nadia, but two, I'm so proud of your resilience, you know, because that's a lot to navigate through, not knowing until the age of 42 and then having that validation. In stage 4, and I'm not going to undermine anybody's pain because endometriosis is painful. Stage 1 is painful. Stage 4 can be painful. Some people cannot even really experience pain as much at stage 4. That was me. Like I had 2 absolute horrible, debilitating flare-ups that sent me through my situation, when there's people with endometriosis, like you see Nadia, that's been experiencing it since 12. And that type of pain and that heaviness. And I'm glad that you talked about how many tampons you went through in a day to know that it was normal, because it goes back to what you said earlier, Nadia. It was your norm to have a heavy period. It doesn't mean that that's the norm for the natural body to experience that type of heavy period. And so how many pads do you think you went through a day before you even got into using the tampons, Nadia?
I think, well, it was the thick ones. So I probably like, I don't know, 10. I could finish a whole packet in 2 days probably. Because, I mean, it was just the first 2 days. So I could finish a whole packet, like a little 10 pads packet of
like
10
12
in 2 days. Yeah. So it was bad.
That's a heavy period. And I just wanted you to give us that context of what a heavy period looks like for the young Nadias, you know, that's listening right now that might not know exactly, you know, what's heavy, what's too much, because it's just their norm. So I appreciate you for navigating through this. I also want to kind of touch back on something else that you said when you were talking about your doctor being against the hysterectomy because you might want children later down, and maybe you're making a premature decision about the future of your womb and what you want out of it, almost as if somebody else may come in your life and want kids, and then you might regret the fact that you decided to have a hysterectomy. I think that's unfair. It's usually, I don't want to say the other way around, but typically it's once you do get diagnosed with endometriosis is more so like, okay, do you want to have kids? If you want to have kids, you need to start having kids now. Like the time is now. But it's like that pressure to hurry up and have kids versus yours was, well, I know you might want a hysterectomy. You might want to try something different because of everything you've been going through, but you don't know. Life may shift for you, and this is a permanent decision, and it should have been your decision all along, and they could have just given you the insight. I heard on another episode or from another guest, Nadia, and it might be the one right before this episode drops, and it was from Saf, and she was saying that in a Facebook group, she was learning all the different things to take notes on in a doctor's office. And I wonder how powerful it would have been if you would have had that conversation with that doctor and he would have said, no, I don't want to give you the hysterectomy. And you would have wrote down, okay, and so why are you refusing me the option of getting the hysterectomy, and writing that down? So then I wonder how that would have made him feel in that moment,
Right.
with not listening to you. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's a problem, because you're the patient. You're the one saying what you want to happen with your body, and you just need insight on why you will or why you won't do what I ask you to do, so I can take this information to the next level or to the next stage, you know. But Nadia, you mentioned that women's health, particularly like with Mexican American community, is often shrouded in silence. Like people aren't really talking about it. And I agree with you. I remember getting separated on this side in middle school, and the boys have to be on this side to have that conversation. Didn't hear anything about PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Didn't hear anything about fibroids. Didn't hear anything about endometriosis, adenomyosis. I went to college and was a health promotions major, and we still didn't talk about those things. I still didn't get that. I got my master's in healthcare administration. Still, none of those conditions came up to talk about. So even though it wasn't even a health focus in your education, those things still weren't, really talked about. So Nadia, how did these cultural taboos impact your ability to kind of seek help and talk openly about your symptoms, and how have you worked to break that silence now?
Well, fortunately, I was first in my father's side of the family to go to college, graduate from college, and then get a master's degree, and then kept going. And that helped a lot, because my whole environment was speaking Spanish with my buddies in school, in high school, right? And there's always that same mentality that we all have. It's just, okay, you just need to eat what your parents tell you to eat and do what they tell you to do because they know better. But yes, sometimes they do know better, but there are other options. And these other options I learned in college. I learned from other people, other races, other cultures, what they do different, what they do the same. Like, especially women's health is very taboo almost everywhere. Like all the other women that I've met that are not Mexican, they're white, Black, Asian, Indian. I mean, they all have their own issues. And some of them have them even worse, because they have to ask permission from their father or their husband to go get help for their health. And so that's really, I mean, that's hard. And so learning from them, being in that environment where I had all these other people, not just my kind of people, right? That kind of, lit the light bulb in my head. It's like, hey, it's not just what we do, it's something else. There's more out there. And eventually I did take a course in biology and then anatomy, just because I had no idea what I wanted to do. But I was like, oh, okay. And so that also helped. And then I got over my shyness, I guess, in some ways. During when I was in grad school, I was a very shy person, very quiet. But then I again started meeting people, and you start learning and getting things that this could benefit me. I could be more vocal about what I'm feeling. And so I would talk to other women, like, hey, do you guys go through this? Is this normal for you? And they're like, oh no, I'm this is my period, and it sounded like heaven, and they love their periods. I'm like, oh, I hate mine, So that's how I started seeing, okay, well, maybe I'm not normal. Maybe there's something wrong down there, right? And that's how I started going. And then, like I said, eventually, once I had that surgery that diagnosed me with the endometriosis, that's when I dove in really into researching and finding more support groups like your podcast and other ladies on Instagram, on YouTube, sharing their story and what they went through. It's like, oh my God, I should have done something earlier. But, I'm here now. And I can't change the past anymore.
Can't live in the past, right? And I'm just so happy you have that community now, and then I bet it's inspired and empowered you to keep going and to keep talking about it even more. And so thank you for being able to say that you're finding community and support even within this podcast. And so I just like to say right now, since Nadia brought it up, if you're listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe to for vibration. Subscribe to the channel, like this episode, and don't forget to let us know some things that you take away from this conversation. You might have already started taking away, or even as we get more into our dialogue and our vibe sesh, let us know what you got out of this episode, what really stood out to you. And if you're listening to on Spotify, I heard you can leave comments on Spotify now. Make sure you're following the Empire Plates, Empire Lives podcast. And if you're on Apple, make sure to leave a review after you finish listening to this episode, and then go check out some more episodes as well. So thank y'all for tuning in. Nadia, you said I thought something was wrong down there before, and now you got it. Girl, it was in college when I started to get active. And I think we shared that conversation before. Later, and it was like, why is this so painful? What is happening? What am I doing wrong? What's going on? And it's that painful sexual intercourse that's a symptom of endometriosis that a lot of people don't talk about either. And then when they do, it just causes a lot of distress on their relationships. And I've had other physical therapists on the podcast that talk about like a device called the O nut. Talk about being able to talk to your providers before your physical exam on using different instruments and stuff to help make it more comfortable in that area. But I just wanted to kind of hit on some of those things when we both shared some of that same sentiment like before. But let's kind of get back to the fact that you were experiencing like physical pain, emotional challenges throughout your journey, especially like with the loss of your mother at the age of 20. How did you cultivate the mindset, Nadia, needed to overcome these obstacles? And what advice do you have for others dealing with similar struggles?
The mindset, I had to grow up quicker than I wanted. I have a younger sister. She was 13 years old when my mother passed away. So I had to be there for her. And I think I was there for her. So she wrote me a really lovely letter a while back. But it was recent, when all that had happened. And so she was my drive. My father, he did his best. He tried. That was another reason why I also did not communicate as much with him, because he was the caretaker of my mother and he was getting sick himself. So he was also a worry of mine, right? That he was not going to be with us a long time because he was super in love with my mother. I've never seen, that was a love that I wish I had, but I had it with them, right? That's not for me, but for them. And I didn't want to burden him with that either. So when my sister went through that process, I vaguely recall, going to the store and getting the things that I knew now that she needed. But yeah, the mindset, it was just one day at a time, like, okay, now these are my responsibilities. She's my responsibility now, even though I'm going to college and she's going to her middle school and then high school. She was a great kid though. She just was not hard to, to parent. It's weird to say parent, but she's my sister, but I was there for her, right? And she was there for me as well. She was the one that actually, she went through her education. She got her bachelor's, master's, and then she went for her PhD. She did it the right way. That's what I think should have been the right way for me. I just went all over the place, but eventually I found my way back. But exactly, so it was a constant struggle. Like, it was just day after day, just take it day by day, tolerate my pain, don't talk about it because I have other important things to deal with, right? And that's the thing too with women, that you're taught from a young age to put yourself last, and it's always your family first, right? Which that's not right. It's not wrong, but if you are not well, you cannot be there for them, right? And that's something that I learned super late in my life. I'm kind of halfway there, but I want to live until I'm 103. So I'm glad I did. I'm glad that I finally realized that it's not being selfish, that taking care of yourself is going to help your family. It's going to help my sister. It's going to help my father, my doggies, and anyone who comes and likes to talk to me. I can be there for that person, right? If I'm okay. And if I'm not okay, I'm useless. I'm not going to be of any help. And so I love to help. I love to share what I've experienced, because I'm sure there's still plenty of high school girls where I went to high school that are not talking about these problems, that are quitting sports because they can't play, because there so many things that I would love to get like a, I don't know, maybe a certification of sorts so I can go and talk to them, not just share experiences, or maybe I can do that. Why not? Just go share and talk to them. This is what happened to me. If it's happening to you, let's talk to the counselor at your high school. Let's talk to the nurse. Maybe they can channel these kids to where they need to go, because I didn't have it. I didn't know. Maybe there was something available back then, but I didn't know. And so if you don't know, it's like it's never there, never happened, right? Now I know. Now I know that there are services that these girls can go to. They can get discounts at the hospital, all these other things that I wish I had known. But like I said, it was just a day at a time, and then learning and not ignoring a lot of things, right? Just adding knowledge day after day. And I think that's how I got it, and just praying. I'm like, okay, this is a heavy pain day. All right, just take it easy. Respect your body. Listen to it. Sit down if you have to. Maybe call in sick because, hey, you need to take care of yourself. And then, okay, next day you're feeling okay. All right, let's go to work, or let's go to college. Let's do whatever we need to do, right? And that's how I basically did it.
I like it. I like it a lot, and I appreciate you helping inspire people in regards to how they address their mindset, navigating conditions like endometriosis that can be debilitating. So I like that you just talked about showing up for your body, respecting your body. If it's in pain, then you have to show up for it. You have to be in that pain, listening to your body, but also learning and not ignoring what's actually happening. That awareness piece is powerful. So that's something you also talked about in regards to mindset. And then you talked about, if I'm not caring for me, then I'm useless to somebody else. I was asked the question one time, how do you show up for other people, or how can you show up more for others? And it was like, well, I have to show up for myself, because the more I show up for me, the more I can show up for other people. Just like our healing journeys, Nadia, the more we heal, the more we navigate endometriosis, the more we can show up, be vocal, be visible on our platforms and our spaces to talk about our journeys, because we're aware of our journey, we're handling our journey, we're navigating our journey, and we're taking ownership over our story, and nobody can take that away from us. And so I thought that was beautiful too. And then you also talked about, you have to be well. If you're not well, you can't expect to take care of other people well. And so that was powerful. And your well-being starts with your mindset, your thoughts, your feelings, your belief in who you are, and then where you want to go and what you believe life should even look like for you first, and then your family, friends, community kind of follows. And then there was something else that you said that I really like. When you talked about, I can tolerate the pain, but do I have to talk about it? And I feel like that was the young Nadia that said, I can tolerate the pain. I can tolerate the heavy periods. I'm going through a pack of periods in 2 days, my first 2 days. I'm not talking about it because once I see my mom struggling. 2, I see my dad is struggling to take care and care for my mom, and his heart is breaking at the same time. And in 3, I'm the oldest, and I have a sister that I need to look after. And that was brilliant. And I love that you and your sister were there for each other. That kind of co-activated, like it was like a cool thing. And I love that for you, because she probably needed you just as much as you needed her at times during that life shift and stage that you were going to. But the most powerful thing you started off with was, you got to take it day by day. And that's your mindset. That's your thoughts. That's your feelings. That's who you are today, Nadia. Like, even sitting at home and recovering after having a full hysterectomy, you have to take it day by day. And sometimes you have to take it moment by moment. And so I think that's sometimes the most beneficial aspect that you can do with your mindset, is take it moment by moment, but showing up and being aware of it and not ignoring it. So thank you, Nadia, for kind of like navigating us through like Nadia's mindset with it all. And then kind of going into, because we talked about mindset, And I know I'm going to get into the food, but I kind of want to hit one last thing in regards to the healthcare aspect and navigating the healthcare system. What advice do you have for women who feel unheard or dismissed by healthcare providers, especially when they're dealing with conditions like endometriosis, when we didn't even know it was endometriosis? So endometriosis like symptoms, let's start there. The painful periods, the pelvic pain, the bleeding out all over the place, the brain fog, the emotions where we have anxiety, can't sleep. Like, what do you have for those people? What advice do you want to give them with navigating the healthcare system, Nadia?
You know what? Thinking back, I did not know that I could go to another doctor. I mean, that naive, that I could go get a second opinion and not just stay with this one doctor. I love him. I mean, I'm not saying that but I didn't know. I didn't know that I had that right to go. I mean, and so that would be one. If, like I said, I started without insurance. So I went to the public clinics, for low-income families and whatnot. And that was the start. That's a start where they can help you, where you can share what you're feeling. You start your record. You start a medical record with them, right? Okay, these are my symptoms. This is what I'm feeling. Now, if they channel you or refer you to a specialist, a gynecologist in this case, then okay, that's a second step. Now that person, that gynecologist, now has the tools. Okay, wait, let's do an ultrasound. Let's do an MRI. Again, not that these things will show, right, but that you have endometriosis. They do not, unfortunately, sometimes, but they can show, okay, you might have a cyst, you might have fibroids. Those things do show in there. What was strange with mine this just recently is that I did not know I had a fibroid until I had the surgery. So it didn't show up in the MRI, it didn't show up in the ultrasound. So even though you get all these tests done, and you're still feeling these things, then it might be PCOS, it might be endo, it might be, and unfortunately, you have to go get surgery, laparoscopic surgery to actually see it. And but that's the thing with us. I mean, we just need to keep pushing. We need to go and find answers. Someone who is willing to listen, who understands. Not everyone is an expert in endometriosis, unfortunately. So yes, we do need to do homework to find that person who actually understands this, who's not going to gaslight you, like as we have been these other times. And like I said, the internet. I started using the internet in college. Now it's on your phone. It's everywhere. We can do research. We can find these specialists, right? And now going back to the low-income families, it's hard, but it's not impossible. Like I said, I was able to get surgery without insurance. Of course, I make payments every month, monthly payments, but you need to take care of your health. And if it takes you to, not to miss out on the daily coffees or whatever, just to pay your bill, that's what I did. That's what I had to do. I paid my bill. I got my surgery, got my diagnosis, which of course I had no idea what it was back in the day, but I got it done. And so it's just, you need to be pushy. You need to be your first advocate. And if you have a support system, right, that's awesome. But then online again, I go back, we have these support systems like your podcast, all these other women sharing their stories. You start picking things like, oh, I can ask this. Some women, these are my list of questions that I have, like you mentioned. These are the list of questions I have from my from my doctor. These are the other things I have questions for my surgery. What's going to happen afterwards? What's going to happen before? What do I need to prepare? Should I be running the day before? Should I exercise? All of these little things that eventually, they're going to prepare you to hopefully get a good outcome for your health. Unfortunately, endo is there forever, but we can manage it, right? We can do things with it, about it. Hopefully, I hope I don't have to see a hospital in at least 3-4 years now. I hope. A hysterectomy is not going to solve the problem. I know that. There were other reasons that maybe we'll discuss, but why I decided to, okay, it's time, let's do it. But that's the thing. Don't believe that the hyst is going to take care of it, because it won't, unfortunately. But we have to just keep advocating for ourselves.
That was a good rundown. I love that there was so many things that you hit on that I absolutely loved. But the first thing that I loved the most was like almost the last thing you said. And it was like, you have to be your first advocate. Like you can't
Right.
expect no one to advocate for you, care for you, give you the right treatment, but you have to treat yourself good. You know what I mean? You have to do
Yes.
everything you can to get what it is that you know you rightfully deserve while you're navigating the healthcare system, while you're being aware and wanting people to be mindful of your condition. You have to be mindful of your condition first, and
Right.
then kind of expect and show people how to show up and be mindful of you. So
Right.
I like that you have to be your first advocate first. I love that you said, and that was transparent. I had to pay my surgery out of pocket. I had to just make payments. I set that thing up because I know this is what I needed. My body needed that. And I didn't have the
Right.
insurance, the coverage to be able to just say, okay, go have the surgery. Like that's a beautiful thing, Nadia. Like that was real. Like that is really than real. I know I can't play with all this extra things I might be doing with my money. I'm gonna have to pay my bills, but I first need to take care of me first. I don't care what the bill is. I'm gonna foot it because it's about me and my well-being. I can't
Yep.
live like this every single day without getting the help that I need. And then
Right.
you talked about doing your homework on the doctors. That is absolutely important, Nadia. Oh my goodness. You can't just go
Yeah.
to anybody to get the care
Right.
that you know you absolutely need. Everybody is not an excision specialist when it comes to
Nope.
endometriosis. Everybody that opens you up and go takes a look can't handle everything that they might find when they open you up and take a look.
Exactly.
And whoever opens you up, you're going to want them to know what to do when they find whatever it is they find in there. So then that way they don't have to wake you up, tell you, and then put you back to sleep and figure it out again the next go round. You shouldn't want that.
Right.
So do your homework on finding an excision specialist that you trust. Build the relationships with the providers because they have to care about you the way you care about you and hear you.
Yes.
You got to be heard. You got to be cared for. And I'm not just talking about them actually writing a bill to care for you, but actually care about you. So don't miss that. And then you talked about how you navigated going from I have these symptoms. This is what I'm going through. Because I don't have insurance, I at least have access to some type of public health care access.
Right.
I'm going to take what I get from my public health care space, go into seeing a specialist, taking the tools I have with the specialist, getting further insight from the specialist to now find the excision or the next step on what I need to take. How you navigated and broke that down, Nadia, was very important because some people might just be sitting back like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I don't have insurance. Nadia just told y'all exactly what to do and she walked you through the whole thing and then told you, and don't forget to pay your bills. Like that is what it's all about. But I love that you said something that I didn't know, which might just seem kind of like, well, why didn't I know that, Nadia? You had free choice, free range to do what it is you wanted to. No one said this has to be your doctor, but it was to get a second opinion or another opinion or find the one who listened to me and doesn't give me pushback when I talk to them and we have open dialogue and there's a real relationship in regards to what I want and what your professional opinion believes is what's going on with me. And so I think that was powerful too. Not only looking at reviews, but navigating around until you find the right person that you trust with your body because you have to trust you first. And so if you don't trust you, it's going to be hard for you to make these hard decisions about what's happening with your body because the body's so complex. So Nadia, you broke that all the way down. So I thank you.
Glad.
I'm glad too, because somebody needed that. So if that touched you in any kind of way, make sure you put that in the comments. What stood out to you in regards to that if you did not know. But Nadia, let's get into mindful eating and its impact on endometriosis. So you were vegetarian for a while, and then recently you've been more plant-based. How has a plant-based diet influenced like your experience with endometriosis and fibroids, and what dietary changes have had the most significant impact on your health thus far?
You know, I think since I went vegetarian, I saw a change. And that's actually when I don't know, when I had my first surgery for endometriosis. It was 2021. So I was vegetarian, I think 2018, 19. I think that's when I changed. And yeah, I mean, the pain was bad. But overall, in general, I mean, putting the pain aside, because I know we can, um, everything just felt better. Like my mind was better. I was thinking clearly. I was grasping things better. I was also performing better when it comes to my running. Um, of course, I was, we get all the people that, maybe they're trying to be helpful, but it's like, you need your calcium, you need to drink milk, and, what about your meat, your protein? It's like, I can get it somewhere else. I don't need to eat animals to get my vitamins and all that, and whatever else I need. My lab work, the first time I was vegetarian, I mean, I came all green in range. Everything was perfect, was fine. When I had the surgery, again, everything was fine. After that, then I went vegan. Again, my blood work was there. My protein was in range. My calcium was in range. Everything was fine. And so, it just gave me more, I guess I was happy. And I was happy that, hey, I'm doing this lifestyle now where I'm not participating in hurting the pain, hurting animals and what they go through. And I'm feeling good. And I'm not contributing, I guess, to the environment and how bad it is. So to me, it was just a win-win. It made sense. It made me feel good. I only regret not doing it sooner. I think that's what every vegan says, oh, I should have done this sooner. I didn't think it was going to be this hard because, again, growing up, that's all you do what your parents do, right? And so you eat what they have, what they can afford for you, and that was it. I had no idea that I could not eat meat. I thought it was just normal for me to eat meat, and that's what I did. And my symptoms, like I said, started at age 12, 13. I was eating meat, I was drinking milk, eating cheese, dairy, everything. And my family is plagued with, unfortunately, with diabetes, hypertension, cancer from both sides of the family. And so the change, and then the running, so the whole vegetarian vegan thing and the running thing, it's my way of not letting these diseases catch me, because I'm very prone to them, because they're in both sides of my family. I've lost family members to these diseases, and I'm just gonna make it hard on it to get me. So that's been my other mindset when it comes to the running and to the plant-based eating. Like, oh, I know you're there. I know you're in my body somewhere, eventually waiting to get me, but you're not. I'm gonna make it hard on you, and that's my whole purpose on the plant eating. Also, besides the animals, just take care of my health and the running. It just helps me a lot mentally. I feel good afterwards when I do my runs. And so, yeah.
Well, wait, Nadia. We're gonna get into the movement. We're still on the food. We're about to get into your movement though, because I know you're Nadia the runner on IG. So I know we're gonna get into that. But I love that you broke down the journey, the process, the family influence on how you ate. That's typically everybody, especially at a young age. It's only been a few people I've talked to who made the switch to like vegetarian at like 13, 14, and it's because they were exposed to someone else, or it just didn't sit right for them to eat the way that they were eating, and they were comfortable enough in themselves to make that shift. And so power to them. I like that you talked about like your performance was better. You were able to think clearer. You talked about the important things of your labs looking normal when you went vegetarian, when you were plant-based, so you weren't lacking in nutrients. You whispered it, but I know you meant to shout it to the rooftops about the fact that you can get protein from other sources outside of or animal sources, and protein isn't everything you need. There are other nutrients that are definitely just as important as protein. So I thank you for walking and saying that. What would I would say is like, was it hard for you to make the shift to vegetarian and plant-based, or was your why strong enough? Meaning you knew that you had chronic conditions and diseases on both sides of your family, kind of knocking on the door, lost your mother at a young age to cancer, knowing that, the things that you were knowing was happening. What was like the transformation for you? Was it the knowledge? Was it like, what was it, and how did you navigate it successfully to say, I'm comfortable in this?
First off, yes, I love animals, and that was honestly, I would say, well, I did it because I saw the videos that not a lot of people want to see. I saw them and I said, this is so wrong. I need to stop. I'm not going to contribute to this. And that was the start. But right behind is like, well, wait a minute. I'm seeing all these other research, going to college, right? Reading, and then having all these sources at your fingertips to read and learn from things from other experts. All this research on how hypertension and the relation with meat and dairy and all this. And it's like, and then you start thinking back and saying, okay, that's all my family ate, right? That's at the parties, at the get-togethers, there was just meat and all these. I mean, like I said, I'm not saying it's wrong for them, but you need to measure yourself. And I don't think as my family, I'm talking about my family, I think we just were on the excessive side of, okay, let's consume all the meats, let's consume all this cheese and milk and all this stuff. And now I see that, I don't know if, besides the stresses that they had in their lives, in addition to the, poor nutrition sometimes and the meats and all that, I think that's what contributed to them getting their illness. And like I said, I decided, okay, yes, I love animals, but too, I also like my life. I like my health. I want to be healthy. Sorry, I keep bringing running, but I love sports. I want to keep on doing them. And if I continue this path that my family has followed for, like even if they wanted it or because that they had no other options, that's, a different story. But I have options now. That's why I tell my sister, you and I, we didn't grow up like our parents, our grandparents did. They had a lot of limitations, money, everything. I mean, they had no money, they had no insurance, they had all these limitations. You and I, we do not. We have jobs, we have education, we have health insurance, we have all these things at our fingertips. We have no excuse. So that was right immediately after. Yes, I love the animals, but health, this is health. And like I mentioned before, we have both sides of our families that are suffering from these things. Let's not be part of it. Let's try our best to stay out of it as long as we can. I mean, if it happens, it happens, but it's genetics. But let's not be contributing to it, right? That was my thing.
I like that you emphasize distress. You talked about my family had a lot of distress and they ate a lot of meat, dairy, like a lot of things that typically can cause chronic conditions, cause inflammation in the body. And we know a lot of inflammation in the body are the root causes of a lot of diseases and ailments. And so I like that you talked about the distress, because distress plays a huge factor in your health, your well-being, in addition to how you're eating. And because there's power in functional nutrition. And when you are plant-based, you're typically eating a more fruit and vegetable whole foods vibe of empowered plates. And when you get more of those things in you, it really helps to start reversing signs, symptoms, discomfort. And honestly, just like you said too, you feel happy. And I don't want to call you the happy vegan. I know that's what was a Simmons book. But I do too feel like a shift in my mood and my energy, being able to be more resilient, not allowing a lot of things to really trouble me or bother me, eating more fruits and vegetables, and I guess they call them like high vibrational foods. And so I see that shift and I understand exactly where you're coming from. And I'm with you, Nadia. When you know the things that you eat can cause all of these other things, and you've lost loved ones due to cancer, heart disease, stroke, heart attacks, all of this other stuff, it says, I don't want any more losses. I want to win. And so I'm winning today by how I choose to, eat the things that I eat, move my body the way I want to move, let go of the things that don't serve me when it comes to my thoughts, my feelings, my belief, how I love for myself, care for myself, make decisions for myself. That's a whole nother thing. And so now we're getting into Nadia's love, and that's her therapeutic runs, her therapeutic outlet. So how has staying active with running, Nadia, has helped you with your endometriosis symptoms? And then in addition to that, what adjustments have you had to make because of endometriosis?
I started running late. I was in my 30s, I think, when I started running. So I haven't been running that long. But I always loved sports. I've always played on the street when I was a kid. I was always out climbing trees, doing things I wasn't supposed to. But I always had that energy to be out, right, and doing things, even though I was experiencing pain. But you push through the pain. That was my motto back in the day. You push through it. Not anymore. Um, maybe back then, because I was young and I could handle it. I could probably handle it now, but not as much. And so now I take my time. But with the running, the adjustments I had to make now at my age is you have to be very mindful of how you train, how you eat. If I'm demanding all these things from my body to perform well, I need to feed it well. I need to give it good nutrients. I need to give myself a lot of powder protein as well on the side, besides my regular meals, right? I need to supplement a little more because I'm putting or exerting my body more. I'm not just here in my room, or back in my good training days, I run about 6 days out of the week, maybe have 2 hard, intense workouts during the week, then my long run on Sunday, right? So that's a lot. And if I'm not eating right, I'm going to be suffering from not just what I have, but also maybe fractures, stress fractures, broken bones eventually. So I don't want any of that. And that's why I'm supplementing and eating what I love to eat, right? My veggies and everything, but I'm also supplementing with vitamins because I'm, doing that extra. I'm going a little extra mile. Marathon training is hard. You typically train for 16 weeks to train for a marathon. And I know I'm not going to make it to the Olympics, but there's some Olympics for the older people. It's called Masters Runners. They have track meets. They just have one in Sweden this past week, I believe. I didn't go because I can't, just had surgery. But I was planning on running the Chicago and New York City marathons this fall. So the adjustment was that I had to cancel those marathons to take care of my health, right? I cannot be and perform what I would love to do, but I'm still chasing for that PR eventually to qualify for the Boston Marathon. That's still my goal. I cannot do it feeling like this. It's unfortunately the fibroids, probably everything started hurting as I pounded on the roads as I was running. The faster I run, the more I would feel it. I love to run on those minimalist shoes. That just made it worse. So I then switched to like more thicker, thinking that, okay, maybe the thicker sole might absorb the pain a little. It did not. I mean, I hate to say it did not. And so I drastically decreased my running. I was running maybe 2 miles a day when I would run 6 a day. But I was still getting some miles in, right? The whole idea is just to keep going. You just get out, do what you can. I was walking a lot. I would run, and then I was like, oh, here comes the pain. And so, okay, let's just walk. And then I would engage in some breathing exercises as I was walking. And then I was like, okay, how do I feel now? Feels good. Okay, all right, let's go. Keep jogging. I would just keep jogging. And then if I had to stop, I would stop. And to me, I'm very competitive with myself, right? I want to do better. If I do good in a race, I want to do better next time. And so I'm keeping track of everything, right? And this is my walk of shame when I have to stop during a run. That's what I call my walk of shame. And so I was like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna do as many walk of shame as I have to do, but I'm just gonna be out here, do what I have to do, just run, walk, and then get home in one piece and try again the other day. Maybe I can go 3 miles. So on a good day, I could run a 5K, right? Well, jog, not run, but just go around and jog 5K. And that was a good day. So yeah, I just, again, a day at a time, a moment, like you mentioned earlier too. Sometimes it's just one moment to the next. It's like, okay, how am I feeling? Feeling good, right? Let's keep going. You have to stop. And one time I did have to just come back home and just walked. And that's okay. I was sad because this competitive side is like, you feel defeated. I felt defeated, but it's like, okay, that's something I cannot control. Just what I'm feeling inside, what I have inside. I can control how I feel about it, not what I experience with it, right? And so, okay, I said, let's just sit down, let's write it down. I have my little journal, let's write it down. This is what happened, and just let's try again tomorrow. And that's how I've been doing it. And so I had my post-op last week, and they said, oh, you can start walking now, which is like, I'm like, okay, I'm tired of just being here in my house, not doing much. So I started walking my dogs 2 at a time because I have 4 that I have to take out and walk, but so I do 2 at a time. We did 2 miles this morning. I felt okay. It kind of hurt a little, but felt okay. I said, okay, maybe let's walk a little slower tomorrow, and maybe I can go a little longer. So it's just making adjustments, right? It's just, again, listening to your body. What is it telling you? Yeah, the doctor can tell you, sure, you can walk now, or sure, in 6 weeks you can go run, and not which I will try. But then I'm like, okay, let's do the walk, run again, right? Let's see how it feels. Maybe go a little faster. Maybe try my regular shoes again, or maybe it's just switch to the thicker shoes. So it's going to be a process of finding where it's going to feel good again to run. And so that's what's going to happen.
I like that, Nadia. And I thank you for breaking that down, because running is an outlet for you. But you also just told us what obstacles you have to overcome and address with endometriosis and the symptoms, as well as now having your second surgery, and then having the full hysterectomy. And so you are in a healing space, and you're having to listen to your body now more than ever. One thing I wanted to talk about was the breathing exercises, and how has breathing helped you in regards to your pain, in regards to being more aware of your thoughts in the moment that's causing you possibly some anxiety. I want to talk a little bit about that, but then I want to ask you about something else in regards to another part that you were talking about. So to help us a little bit with your experience with breathing exercises and its relation to your endo.
So I tried it just sitting down, because like I've experienced, this is my 4th experience with like a, I don't know if you should call it like an anxiety attack, panic attack. I cannot tell you. I don't know what the difference is. To me, they're kind of the same. But I felt like I was lacking oxygen, and I'm feeling okay now. But it's just that feeling that like when you're full, like when you eat a lot and you feel that fullness in your belly, and it kind of goes up to your diaphragm, and you kind of have to like do that extra breath, right? Like, okay, I am breathing. It's okay. All right, I can expand my my diaphragm, my lungs, and so I have to do that maybe I do it twice a day, where I just wake up and, okay, let's do this exercise, and nothing is hurting, right? I wake up, luckily this past few weeks, I haven't been hurting anything. I'm getting up quicker from my bed, but I still sit down and I extend the belly and then let it out. And then I do that maybe 5-6 times. And then I do a really deep hold, and I hold my breath with my belly extended, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of belly breathing, not so much nose breathing, but like you breathe, and then you hold it with your breath, your belly, and then I hold that, and then let it go, and then I expand the belly again, and then I hold it with my belly up, like extend it as much as I can, and then I hold it and let go. So again, women that share these type of breathing exercises, like, okay, let me try that. I'll try that. I think I can do that, and so it has been working for me. When I run, when I start to feel the pain especially on my left side, it was really painful on the left. So I was like, okay, let's stop. And then you kind of, I tell myself, okay, now that I make the connection, there's probably some term for what I'm doing that I do not know, but I've read somewhere that, you make the connection, where it hurts, you put your hands there, and then you start your breathing exercises. And that's what I do. So, okay, stay away from the road, right? You're doing a safe place. And then I do my breathing exercise similar to what I do here on my bed. So but I'm focusing, okay, this is where I'm hurting. This is where I want the pain to leave my body. And I'm doing my breathing exercises. And then I'm done. And then I take a few steps, and it's not there. All right, start jogging again, and then boom, I take off. So that's how I've been doing it, right?
So thank you for breaking that down. I love that, because so many times I think people underestimate the power of breath work. And I do the same thing. I call it a 5, 3, and 7. So I inhale for 5, and I make sure the stomach is, swelling up, right, getting big on that inhale. I hold for 3, and then I slow exhale for 7. And I like that. I will try though the putting your hand on where it's hurting. Or where the pain is. So that's probably telling your mind, this is where I want you to reduce this pain.
Yes.
I like that. I do like that. But when you said pain, I do want you to know that, y'all, in the description of this video, forvibrations.com, there's uterine massage belts, heating pads. You can get tumblers. There's different things dealing with chronic pain, helping you eliminate that distress that you can find on the website to better support you when you're navigating through some of these things. And then, Nadia, the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about was your thought process. You're very competitive when it comes to yourself. You just spent an hour telling us about your journey from fainting and passing out, and the losses that you're taking, and how strong you really are. Yet you're saying how you are taking walks of shame because your body isn't doing the things that you want it to do. I would like to impose, Nadia, that
right,
as
you.
you are on this healing journey and you're getting back active, you're taking the steps now, you're walking the dogs, you're doing the 2 miles, and you're listening to your body and you're saying, okay, that was a little discomforting. I might slow it down tomorrow. I know that you're going to get to the Boston Marathon. I know that if you want to make it to the Masters, you'll be participating in the Masters. You just have to love your body enough to get there. And so the more you go deep into loving yourself and caring for yourself and listening to your body, you're going to get there, and there's nothing shameful about it. And so even if it's slow and steady, you just told us you started running in your 30s. So if you knock stuff out in your 50s, that you're still doing the doggone thing, girl, because you're still accomplishing it. So I just want you to give yourself just a little bit more grace and try to shift into some positive self-talk, and even write affirmations down in places that you can see. So Nadia, that you're going to get there in due time, because you're not allowing endometriosis to stop it. You're overcoming it every step of the way, or every marathon of the way. Maybe does that work? I don't know.
Yes, that works. Perfect.
You down with that? You all right with that?
I'm down. I won't use those terms anymore. I was just trying to be funny, but
no, you're good. You're good.
No,
I just wanted you to be there. I just wanted to be let me get this in my head. I want to receive it and plant it.
Yes.
I just want you to have it, because I'm amazed at you, and I'm so proud of you, and I just want you to. But I know athletes who are hard on themselves and very competitive. It's go time. But I also have felt too, Nadia, when I wanted to do more and I couldn't, and my defeat felt like in pelvic floor therapy after having the surgery, and it's endo stage 4 endo, and I couldn't squeeze and hold on and do the contractions they wanted me to using those muscles. My muscles were just so weak. I had tears rolling down my eyes when I got in the car, because I was so upset at my body for not being able to do the things my physical therapist wanted me to do. And it was just like, what is going on with my body? I wake up and it's stage 4 endo, never heard of it before. I felt like I took care of my body all the other times. And I was like, why are you going against me? Why are you working against me? And I know other people like us, Nadia, have experienced those thoughts, those feelings. Like, why is life going against me and not for me when I'm showing up, I'm loving, I'm doing all of these things? And I had to just tell myself that this is a healing journey. My body went through a lot. It was going through a lot before I even know it was going through a lot for a while. And I have to be with my body in order for my body to be with me. You know what I mean? And that's that shift I needed to take with my mindset. That was that grace I needed for myself to say, okay, how do I show up for my body until my body can show up the way I want it to? And so I just wanted to be able to relate in that moment, but also say we're worth it. And we're intentional about being intentional on the things that we're doing. So yes, I'm gonna ask this question. We'll get into our last 2 questions. What empowering message, Nadia, would you like to leave our listeners with about the importance of taking control of their health, breaking through cultural taboos? Because we know you're here to be representation for the Mexican Americans, and you want them to know, I'm here. We got this. We can do it. Breaking through cultural taboos and finding strength in the face of life's disruptions. what empowering message would you like to leave with them today?
To the young women, especially, I'm talking middle school, high school, the young girls experiencing this. It's so hard. I mean, it was so hard for me thinking back, to talk to anyone, to somebody, and because you don't know, nobody tells you who to go and talk to at school, and so I think I could have gone to the nurse if somebody had told me, right? Hey, go talk to the nurse. Go talk to your school counselor. Go talk to somebody, some person that you can feel you can trust, and tell them, hey, I'm experiencing these things. Is this okay? Is this normal? I'm feeling like this. And then these folks, if they are there, they're professionals, they're trained, and they can find you resources. They can find these young girls and young women resources that they can reach out to. And that's how you start moving and getting that train going to get your health back. And so don't be ashamed of talking about periods. Don't be ashamed about talking about what you feel, because there's what more, I forgot how many women in the world. I think we are a number of men. We all have periods. It's okay. We can talk about periods. We can talk about periods to our families. It should be okay. And so this is not a message for the little girls or the young women. This is a message for the parents, for the adults, that we are the adults. We can talk to these kids about this. Fathers, I know I have many male friends who have kids. It should be okay for them to talk to their daughters. If you need to take your daughter to go buy pads, that's okay. Don't be ashamed. It's part of life. It's what happens, right? And so I feel that there's, again, that gender divide where women, we get the end of it, and and we need to stop it. And I think it's working. I think I see what I'm seeing on social media with young women expressing, their concerns and their beliefs, and then not just health wise, but everything. I mean, politics, everything. And I like that. I like seeing that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I had her energy when I was little. All these little 13-year-old activists going to the UN and talking about the climate change. Like, wow, so I have hope. I have hope for them. I have hope for the future, because it's just amazing. It gives me even chills. I'm getting all chills now when I saw that little 13-year-old talking to these major politicians, world politicians, right, about climate changes. And so that was very encouraging. And so let's feed off that energy, and let's encourage. I'm talking now to my Mexican American girls. Don't be ashamed. If they can do it in Sweden or wherever they were, you can do it here. You can do it anywhere. You need to just find that person, find your person, reach out to them, and then that person should help out. And then we as women, as older women, just also be cognizant about, okay, what's going on with this girl? If maybe she's trying to tell me something, and maybe just push her a little more. Maybe she's shy. Maybe she's embarrassed. Again, that whole being embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed, because it's normal. Your period is normal. Having issues with it, the excessive bleeding, that's not normal. And so we need to help them, right? Okay, let's find you somebody who can help you. Let's take you on that path, and and we'll be there with you. I mean, spiritually, physically, whatever's needed, we'll be there.
I love it. We'll be there. That's the empower message. We'll be there.
We're there.
And I like it. I like it. So you kind of already touched on the question. It was give some insight, tips for girl dads, male role models, spouses, partners, for those experiencing endometriosis, PCOS, adenomyosis, fibroid-like symptoms, because everyone doesn't have a diagnosis, but they could relate with the symptoms that they have. Give them some tips on how they could show up and be supportive, and kind of like talk to the younger Nadia on what she probably could have done in the event with talking to her dad, and how your dad could have been there for you. What would it look like for you if your dad was able to be there for you? Kind of talk to those things.
I'll answer the last question regarding my father. I think he would have been there. I think he would have. He's always been supportive of my sister and myself, right? Everything we've done, from school, plays, music. My sister was in band. I did sports, so she was the artist, musician, and I was the sport junkie. But he was always there for both of us. And so I think if we had talked to him about these things, maybe he wouldn't have the answers, but he would have taken us to somebody, right? Maybe he would have reached out to his sisters and I said, hey, help me out here. And that's okay. That's something. That's better than doing nothing, right? And it's like, oh, I don't know. That's a girl thing. I'm not going to deal with it, right? Because there are men like that. Plenty, a lot of men, unfortunately. But just for the men, now going back to your first question, what would I suggest for them to do? If you don't know, you feel uncomfortable, well, don't. Don't feel uncomfortable. That's your daughter. You don't want your daughter suffering. You know, you need to also talk to your wife about it. And if they're single fathers, which is also the case, could be the case, then you read up on it. Find out what's going on. Okay, is this what she's telling me? Is this normal? Maybe he can talk to a doctor, female doctor, and say, or reach out to groups and say, hey, you know, I have my daughter, she says that she's experiencing these things. Which, I mean, if the daughter's talking to the dad about these things, oh, that's great. You know, that's awesome. That's like the hardest thing, because it starts with us as the daughters, right? Not being embarrassed. Again, going back to the whole being embarrassed about talking about our period, our normal periods. And so that's the start for them. Go talk to, if you don't feel comfortable, okay, find somebody. Go talk to with grandma or your sister or somebody. Get another female adult to help you. Or maybe that female adult can talk directly to the daughter. And that's something, like I said, something is better than nothing. And if the father's really involved, then he can learn. He can find out. He can be part of this podcast. He can also come and be part of it, you know, because it's okay. They're part of their lives. And if they don't love their daughters, they have to be there, you know, even when they're experiencing these painful periods that they're having, if they're having them. And so that's my advice.
I like it. The biggest thing that I think stood out to me in regards to that is you don't want your loved one to suffer. And so if you don't want them to suffer, you're going to do something. And so that's an easy check-in. If you already have good rapport, good relationship, you're already talking, just, hey, how are things going? Have you been in any type of pain lately? Anything you want to talk about? Like, how's life? How's the vibes? Like anything like that, I think is important. So I love when you said you don't want your loved ones to suffer. And so if you're uncomfortable, is your uncomfortable discomfort more valuable than having the conversation about someone who's suffering or might be going through things that are abnormal, yet you don't really know because you aren't willing to do the check-ins? Like that's that
right
thing. So I love that, Nadia. Thank you for that. Okay, last question. If you could have a meal with any historical figure, who would it be and what would y'all eat?
Probably a vegan meal, lots of veggies and grilled vegetables, but it would be with Frida Kahlo. Yes, I like her. She suffered a lot. The Mexican painter, right? She went through a lot of painful surgeries, and she portrayed her pain in her paintings, right? And so I think it would be interesting to talk to her in her day, you know, what she was experiencing compared to us, you know, that now that we have more options and more technology here. I mean, how, besides the painting, how else did she handle her pain? That she would be my top person to go to.
And so you're not going to get out that easy. What is on the empowered plate that y'all are going to be consuming?
Eating. We will be eating corn. I see some corn in there. Some, I don't know if maybe she will be down for tofu, but I can prepare her some tofu, like Mexican style tofu, kind of make them look like carnitas, tacos, some fried tacos, but with tofu. Except corn, a side of corn, and some beans, whole beans, and Jamaica, hibiscus drink.
Go, okay, I like it. Thank you. All right, Nadia, let
and avocado.
They can find you.
Oh, just on Instagram. I'm under the runner with Endo Runner 13. That's my
Endo Runner 13. I'll have that in the description of this video. Endo Runner 13. In the event that you want to connect with her, you want to go follow her so you can travel along with her journeys and see her smash these marathons and hit her PRs and do all of the great things that Nadia still has to do in this thing called life as she's overcoming and navigating her journey of strength with endometriosis. Yo, Nadia, it has been an amazing opportunity to speak with you on today. Thank you for just showing up, being transparent, owning your story, and of course, vibing with me. Y'all, in the description of this video are a lot of valuable links. I know me and Nadia have talked about our journeys. Y'all, it's my healing, my journey. It's Nadia's journey. We want you to just own yours and be empowered to take ownership and make decisions based on what you know about yourself in regards to what you deserve. So every single day, don't shy away from loving you and making decisions that say, I love me, and caring for that body that is yours. Y'all, it has been an amazing opportunity to hold this space with you on the Empowered Place, Empowered Lives episode today. Y'all, thanks for vibing with me, y'all.